You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It feels like I just saw you guys a little bit ago, probably because I just finished a live here a few minutes ago. But now I'm back with another prospect interview, and joining me today is Ty Okada out of Montana State. He is a safety. Ty, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you taking the time having me on your show. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course. I'm always like, you're like thankful to be on my show. I'm like, I'm thankful that you're on my show. It's funny how that works, but I appreciate you, Ty. I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys leave us a thumbs up, show your support. We're going to get right into the asking of questions now. So, Ty, back in high school, you played football, baseball, and you were also an all-conference wrestler. What was it about football, though, that you gravitated most to and made it the preferred sport for you?
Gosh, I would have to say the team aspect. I know baseball is another team sport, but everything is very individual in terms of you're not quite on every down basis or every play basis working with someone else and communicating. And so for myself, I liked individually what each of those sports offered, but I think why I gravitated more towards football was just that team aspect of every single down, every snap, you're communicating with your brothers and you've got to be on the same page. And for me, as someone who enjoys that piece of it, it made me gravitate towards it a little bit more than the others, I would say.
For sure. I often I think of football as like a choreographed dance, right? Everyone has to know their steps, be on the same page. That's a great way to put it. And I don't think anything proves the real love that you have for football more than the fact that you had offers to play other sports at other schools, but there were two things that you were pretty intent on doing, and that was playing football and being at a D1 program, even if it meant being a walk-on, which is how you came to join the Montana State team. So tell us a bit about why, you felt Montana State was the right fit for you.
Absolutely. And you kind of just hit on a lot of the big parts right there in terms of, I wanted to compete. I wanted to play football and I wanted to do it at the highest level possible. And Montana State was the only Division I school that gave me that opportunity. Very similar to climate-wise to Minnesota. A little bit more beautiful, I would say, with the mountains. And they had a great business school and a great program with a super strong culture. They were a little bit in the middle of a rebuild once I joined, which was honestly a great opportunity for me to be a part of it and B, just witness, a big culture shift there. And so I would say that those were the main reasons.
Okay. And you did play your entire collegiate career at MSU. You played some special teams, nickel corner, safety. Was there a year that you felt like you really came into your own as a player and the game just started to slow down for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I got an opportunity to start playing my redshirt freshman year a little bit at nickel, but I would say my redshirt sophomore year, the game just kind of slowed down for me in terms of, I was getting a better grasp of our defense and the speed just seemed to slow down. I was starting to develop a little bit more physically. I was what you'd probably say is a late bloomer. Coming out of high school, I was a little bit undersized, but finally getting, into the weight room. Redshirt freshman year, that I was able to see that kind of all come to fruition that redshirt sophomore year.
And you mentioned, you played some nickel, or I mentioned that too as well. But your first time playing nickel corner was during a playoff game, or at a playoff game for MSU. And I know a lot of corners say that covering the slot, that's probably one of the hardest spots to defend on the field. So knowing that you had to take on that task, like what were the emotions at the time of getting that opportunity in those circumstances in a playoff game?
Absolutely. I probably shouldn't share this, but I don't know if I went to a single class that week. I stayed in my coach's office and watched film 24/7. I think I ended up bringing a pillow in there so I could just get as much film in as possible because as a redshirt freshman, it was our first playoff game for the entire program in 4 years. And so I was going to give it everything I had to be as prepared as possible. And to your point, it's a very difficult task to guard slot wide receivers. They've got the most space. And you as a defender, you're dealing with the most space. You don't have the sideline to kind of rely on as another defender. And so just understanding my leverage and other tips and tricks like those is just kind of what I relied on.
So what are some of the things that you look for in an opponent when you're, studying film?
Yeah, absolutely. I take it on a week-to-week basis. And so let's say on a Sunday, I like to go big picture. And so Sunday, I like to see who they're getting the ball to, who their playmakers are, and an overarching theme of their offense. So what are their ABC runs, ABC passes? And then I kind of break it down from there. So Monday, we normally come in, we work on mixed downs. So prior to Monday's practice, I want to watch all the, what are the 80% of the plays that they run on mixed downs, and so on and so forth. So Tuesday, we work on short yardage goal line, 7-on-7. And so just prior to those practices, breaking down each of those cut-ups, and our coaches do a great job of putting together cut-ups of those situations and ABC runs, ABC passes. And then towards the end of the week, sort of doing a quick review of all those things that I just said, as well as maybe some trick plays when they get, everyone knows logos and high red zone is where teams like to come out and run their trick plays. And so kind of late in the week, reviewing some of those things that are ran seldomly by that offense, but they can still possibly do.
And a few times that, you've been tested or you've had to overcome adversity of some kind during your MSU career, torn PCL, the COVID year that you guys did not play. How did you in those times, manage to stay positive and what helps keep you grounded through moments like that?
Absolutely. I think just taking everything day by day, hour by hour. You can't, when you're rehabbing or you're going through something where you're not on the field or you're not doing something where you want to be out there, you got to just take it one step at a time. And I know that sounds cliche, but you can easily lose sight of the big picture if you're maybe only looking at the big long-term picture instead of what you need to be doing at that moment. And so I think that's been mentally ways that I've been able to deal with those things when they come across my plate.
And in that COVID year, did you feel like you were able to work on things that maybe you wouldn't have had been able to had you guys played that season?
Absolutely. And I think even more so, our team took that extra step of, building a great culture and great relationship with each other. It was time that I could spend with my teammates, just getting out on the field by ourselves. Not too many people were out in public. And so it made it easy. We didn't need to reserve any fields and just get out there, spend time together and work on our craft.
And I have to imagine with all the sports that you've played, and particularly also having played quarterback in high school, and, we talked about the wrestling, some of those sports or having those experiences would give you some advantages on the football field today, right? So what skill sets do you think have translated to playing on the defensive side of the ball?
I would say just thinking the way a quarterback thinks, that what they're looking at progression wise, what they're thinking pre-snap, where they may believe that matchups are or are not, are all things that have helped me make that transition as a defensive back.
And as a safety, do you like to line up closer to the box, or do you prefer to play, deeper in coverage, or are you kind of comfortable with both?
Goodness, it's funny because I know that this is going to sound cliche, and a lot of teams have been asking me this because they kind of want to figure out where can we fit this guy into our defensive scheme. And the great part about it and coming out and having the numbers that I did at Pro Day and having the film, where if you look at either my film or PFF grades, you'll see that I've taken snaps from everywhere, blitzing off the edge, in the box, in coverage on the outside, in the inside, in the post. And so I'm a true defensive back, is what I like to say. And I feel very comfortable playing anywhere. I have the athleticism to play anywhere, and being able to see the game from all those different perspectives, I think has only made me that much better of a defensive back.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, teams, I'm sure, also appreciate the positional versatility as well. I know that's something very valuable. And I mean, we didn't even mention special teams as well, right? That's another plus, another
Absolutely.
bonus.
Yeah, that's been another part of the conversation. Is just whatever team I do end up going to, I'm going to be a special teams ace and the biggest contributor. So
I love it. Now, I have a very important question for you. because I was looking, or I noticed some pictures of you, of course, and you always you never have your mouth guard in.
Oh
It's
man.
always like hanging, like you're just biting, it's hanging out. I'm like, almost every picture, it's like you're Steph Curry at the free throw line. Is that like a is that like a comfort thing? Like
that is so funny. I hope my mom gets to watch this one, because she is always on me about never like fully having my mouth guard in. And I would just attribute it to I'm talking so much pre-snap. And so myself at nickel and the mic on our defense, we're making all of the calls. And I want everybody to be able to hear me clearly, or if I'm trying to alert someone. And so I've just learned that it's easier. I never want the mouth guard to get in the way. Once I get to the league, I'll have the money to buy a little bit of a nicer mouth guard that'll help me be able to communicate clearly while still wearing it. So that's kind of what I would attribute it to. But at this point, who knows? I probably won't. I've gotten so used to that. It's funny. It's funny you notice that. That's good.
Because I'd never seen it before, and like all the pictures I saw, it was just like hanging out. I was like, oh, interesting. Well, that's funny. But your answer made complete sense. Yeah. Montana State Pro Day. We talked about your pro day. It was happened earlier this month, and your name just started to buzz a lot after that. I saw your name come up a lot on my timeline, which kind of prompted, this interview to begin with. But how did you feel about your performance and how you did?
I feel relieved, not surprised in the slightest bit. I think everything that I was hitting leading up in training is everything that I put up at pro day. But just to, you're talking to scouts and you're talking to assistant GMs and you're discussing, hey, these are the numbers we're going to hit. And it's kind of like, yeah, okay, well, we'll believe it when we see it. The film, I look good on film, but being able to hit all those numbers is a tall task for a lot of people. And so, being able to finally go out there and do it in front of the scouts and put all the hard work out there and see it all come to fruition like that is just a relief.
Was there anything specific that you were trying to, test really good at, or did you just go in with the expectation that, you were going to, test well on everything?
Yeah, I knew I'd come in and test well at all the different drills, but it's a matter of being able to put it all together, right? Having every single one go the way that you expected to. But I was really excited about my vertical. That was one thing. I was telling the scouts I'm for sure going to hit over 40, So and that was one I was very happy with, as well as my broad jump, just showing that I'm extremely explosive and it translates to the field and on film.
I definitely love the confidence that, you had going into it. You knew you were going to, hit some of those numbers. We got a comment here. Thank you, Double B Studio, for the donation. He says, I could see Ty being on any team in the league. I would have to agree. And we talked about it, right? The positional versatility, the special teams ability as well. That's always a bonus. I think any team would be happy to have that on their team. What has teams' feedback been for you so far throughout this process?
It's been tremendous so far. And again, kind of hitting those numbers, it's nice to talk to some assistant coaches and scouts and they now say, okay, that's awesome, because it makes sense. We see it on film, and then just to see it on paper only solidifies that. And so to get that feedback is tremendous. And like we were saying earlier, every single team sees me as being a special teams ace and being a huge contributor that way, but also the position versatility is just tremendous. And they can see me playing really anywhere on that back end. And so they've really appreciated and liked that so far.
Yeah. I'm sure for the teams, it's nice when like the tape matches up with the pro day and the athleticism, right? Sometimes those don't always match up. So right. It's a tougher choice. No combine invite, no all-star game invite. Did that give you some extra juice, some extra motivation to try to like outperform, some of those guys some of those numbers you saw at the combine?
Oh, without a doubt. And, I was hitting up all the all-star guys, and nothing against them, but I also, as a walk-on, I love proving people wrong and proving myself right. And my pro day solidified that. And come draft weekend, that'll be solidified. And I'm really excited with the feedback that I've gotten. And scouts are just, they can't even understand. They can't begin to understand how I didn't get a single major all-star game invite. And so, hearing that from them, the scouts and also the decision makers, is definitely a great feeling.
I think that probably means more, honestly, than getting the invite. At the end of the day,
Right.
the teams are the ones drafting you.
Exactly.
Do you have any visits or meetings coming up with teams?
I've got 2 planned visits coming up, and I'm looking forward to maybe getting a little bit more, and then just lots of Zooms this week and next week. It's going to be incredibly busy. It was kind of funny, like the day after pro day was a little bit quiet. And I'm like, oh man, I just put up all these great numbers. And then the next day it was like nonstop phone calls and setting up meetings and visits. And so I'm really looking forward to what this next, few weeks have in store.
Awesome. I'm really excited for you. And I know, we talked about it. You have spoken with the 49ers at this point in the pre-draft process. What have those conversations been like so far?
Had some incredible conversations with Frey and Crowley even prior to pro day. And they had me as someone to, keep an eye on, and they were showing the most love even before I was putting up those great numbers, and they were really doing their due diligence. And that was really nice and reassuring. And to continue to build that relationship, that won't be something that I forget when I look back on, if my name doesn't get called and I'm in negotiations with a lot of teams as a priority free agent, that's something I won't forget as someone or as a team that, began reaching out to me early on in the process. And so it's been extremely special talking to the 49ers, just an incredible organization. And I'm looking for that relationship to grow.
I don't want to be sound biased here, but I definitely feel like you'd be a great fit for the team. I'm just hearing you speak. I know the 49ers culture, like what they look for in guys. They love like blue collar players, and I feel like you fit that mold. And that's not even talking about the tape aspect, right? Like, of course, you check all the boxes there as well. Double B Studio has another question. Thank you again for another donation. He says, Ty going to be there draft night in person. What are the draft day or draft weekend plans for you, Ty?
Gosh, I'll be back home. I'm down in Denver. This is where I trained out of originally, out of Landau Performance. And but I'll be back in my hometown of Woodbury, Minnesota for the draft, the 3 days of the draft. And so I'm looking forward to spending time with family and friends and doing a little draft party there.
Cool. You said you're in Denver?
Yes, Denver.
Oh, that's funny. I live out here.
Oh, that's there we go.
So I was like, earlier when you said you like the mountains, I was like, yeah, like Denver's mountains are pretty cool too.
Heck yeah, right on. No doubt.
Yeah, it's pretty nice out here, and the weather's getting much better.
I just got back today, and I'm very happy about the weather shift here. So
yeah,
it was chilly back in Montana. It was 24 degrees at the start or when we were running our 40s at our pro day. So it was a little chilly.
Sheesh. I think that makes the times even more impressive, right?
Yes.
For sure.
Quick little plug there. I like put that in.
For sure. Now, I always like to end my interviews with this question. What is a team? What is a fan base getting with Ty Okada?
They're just going to get a hard-nosed, competitive person that's going to do whatever it takes to help that team be the best and win a championship. You're going to have a special teams ace out of me. You're going to have someone that's extremely versatile and athletic in the back end, that's very knowledgeable of our schemes and whatever the offense that we're playing, whatever they try schematically. I'm going to be the most prepared out there, and I'm just going to be the ultimate teammate in the locker room, outside of the locker room, on the field. You're just going to get a genuine person.
I love it. I love it. I know a team is going to love it as well. I know a fan base is going to love it. Ty, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been one of my favorite interviews, I think, and definitely going to be following your journey. So best of luck these next few weeks with those meetings and, of course, for the draft as well.
That means a lot, Steph. Thanks again for having me on and taking the time. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you for taking the time. All right. And for those of you guys that tuned in, make sure that you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. There will be a lot of content like this. But for now, have a good rest of your Monday evening, people. Peace.